Good day, everybody, and welcome. Happy spring or autumn equinox, depending on where you live. Um, I am Jan Jeremias, and for a lot of many years, I've been helping people to live more healthy, um, and to weave health into the fabric of their life. Um, I've blended my roots in clinical research with a deep love for holistic wellness to support both people and their pets in living longer, fuller, more connected lives. My word for doing this is empowerment. My goal or my mission is that each person feel empowered to, know what they need to do to be able to support their own well-being. Um, Endlessly grateful for this community and for being able to create this space with my beautiful and dear friend and collaborator, Mary Jane McQueen. And together we believe in bringing more kindness into the world, one creative moment, one conscious breath, and one heartfelt conversation at a time. And also with a whole lot of laughter. So a heartfelt thank you to Mary Jane and to each of you for being here and showing up with open hearts. This community truly shines because of all of you. And from the bottom of my heart, I'm so grateful for it. Mary Jane, I'll pass it to you.
Thanks, Dren. Yes, laughter. It really is the best medicine, or we found anyway. So, yes, welcome everyone. And I know that most of you here know who I am, but I am the founder of my own creative studio, MJ McQueen Creative Studio. Um, I transitioned into my own creative studio after a 30 plus year career in corporate marketing. And with that life transition, it really has helped me to embrace my what I like to call my authentic act two. And that's building a business rooted in creativity, compassion, and purpose. And it's always my blessing, pleasure, treasure to be with all of you and to collaborate with beautiful, inspiring people, such as Jan. She is my friend and my and my sometimes my muse, shall we say, because she makes me laugh, especially when I need it most. And I just really love to help others to reconnect with their voice, their creativity, and the important, reminding them of the importance of self-kindness, um, with both my professional clients and my graphic design business, as well as supporting in beautiful collaborations, such as Spirit-Born Imaginings, um, because I just really know that kindness, empathy, and compassion is the root that we all must return to, especially when it comes to ourselves. And so I just welcome you here and thank you for being part of our community. And we're looking forward to an amazing conversation yet again today.
So Mary Jane, do you want to share the poem?
Yes, I would do that. I was trying to clear my throat because I'm
Oh, okay. Do that and then read the poem.
yes. So it's entitled "Gifts from the Spring Equinox" and it's by John O'Donohue. And it says, "Within the grip of winter, it is almost impossible to imagine the spring. The gray, perished landscape is shorn of color. Only bleakness meets the eye. Everything seems severe and edged. Winter is the oldest season. It has some of the quality of the absolute. Yet beneath the surface of winter, the miracle of spring is already in preparation. The cold is relenting, seeds are wakening up, colors are beginning to imagine how they will return. Then imperceptibly, Somewhere, one bud opens, and the symphony of renewal is no longer reversible. From the black heart of winter, a miraculous, breathing plenitude of color emerges. The beauty of nature insists on taking its time. Everything is prepared, nothing is rushed. The rhythm of emergence is a gradual, slow beat, always inching its way forward. Change remains faithful to itself until the new unfolds in the full confidence of true arrival. Because nothing is abrupt, the beginning of spring nearly always catches us unawares. It is there before we see it, and then we can look nowhere without seeing it.
So, welcome everybody. We welcome you into this moment of quiet transition, this threshold between seasons, the sacred turning of the equinox. At this time of year, the earth comes into balance. Day and night stand in near equal measure, light and dark held in a moment of harmony. And from this place of balance, something begins to shift. The light slowly begins to grow. The days gently lengthen. Beneath the surface, life stirs. Roots deepen. Seeds awaken. And what has been resting begins in its own time to rise. For those joining us from the southern hemisphere, you are experiencing the autumn equinox, a time of gathering, of reflection, of letting go, a turning inward that mirrors the inward work we each do in our lives. Though the energy of the seasons differs across the globe, we are united in the rhythm of balance and transformation, honoring the cycles of release and renewal. We welcome you into this shared unfolding within yourself, because just as nature moves through cycles, so do we. Winter may have asked you to slow down, to reflect, to turn inward in ways that were seen and perhaps unseen. And now, without force, without urgency, there is an invitation to gently begin again. Whether you are in the northern hemisphere or in the southern, in the northern, feeling the first stirrings of spring, or in the southern, experiencing the reflective turning of autumn. This moment invites you to honor the cycles within and around you. The autumn equinox calls for release, for gathering, for letting go of what no longer serves. And the spring equinox calls for gentle awakening, new life, and the tender growth that follows balance. We welcome you as you are arriving today, not needing to be different, not needing to have it all figured out, only an invitation to notice, where am I finding balance in my life, and what within me is ready to grow. Equinoxes remind us that balance is not something we achieve once and hold on to. It is something we return to again and again. And from that place, growth naturally unfolds, whether through the tender stirring of spring or the reflecting release of autumn. So as we gather here, we take this moment to pause, to honor both the stillness and the stirring, the parts of ourselves that are resting and the parts that are ready to emerge. Together, we embrace the balance of this moment, and we gently welcome the growth that is calling us forward.
Well, all I know is that I know that we all go through those cycles, but I can only speak for myself. And I know we were speaking to it a little bit um, before we started recording about how forward we're looking to here in this hemisphere for the new growth to emerge. Um, it's just a beautiful a season of it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely for me it always feels like a season of movement. Winter feels more hibernation, I guess, especially in the northern hemisphere where we have had lots of snow. But just really that sense of looking forward to new growth. And that could be in the physical sense of seeing the flowers, trees, and grass grow, but it's also there's something opening even for us as people. So I love spring.
Well, you're a spring baby, so that
Yes,
makes
I am indeed. Yes. Even
that
though there
makes
was snow on the day I was born, but that's okay.
that's okay. But that makes sense to me. But yeah, I think that winter is, I mean, or the season we're coming off of is this season of hibernation, of going inward. We tend to all go like be indoors, stay home so much. Obviously makes sense because it's cold. So it's kind of conducive to being indoors. And now as the sunlight changes, and even though the temperatures right now don't feel like it necessarily, there is this desire to just spend more time outside. There's like it's like you're being called um to be out and to take in the sun. And, and I just spent a lot of time reflecting on this whole idea of balance, of where in my life at this point, is my life balanced, and where do I need to spend more time or direct my energy to find more balance? And the fact that it's not like once you find balance, you're there forever, as we all know. It's not like, okay, one and done. I did that, I'm now balanced, Ha ha ha. So, it's like where should I be directing my energy to find more balance? So that's what I thought about a lot over the past like week as I reflected on this idea of the equinox. And it's, no matter where you live, it's that, idea that there's, basically almost equal amounts of light and dark. And so that idea. And also, I love that you just put up the scales, Mary Jane. Thank you. Because it is, like when you look at, and that's my sign, Libra. So I am the scales. So that might be why I was called to look at this whole idea of balance. And I think I always thought of like, you reach it and then like, you have the ability to maintain it, but that's not how life works, right? You're called like to spend more time in one area, probably more so because life demands that. And then that starts to decrease and you kind of shift your energy somewhere else. And you kind of keep, it's constant movement or constant play of movement of, and on any given day, it can change, or on any given week or month or time of year, you know. So that's what I was reflecting on. Like I love I actually like the fall a lot, but not that I don't like the spring, but I really love the fall. But it's just this feeling of like, okay, where in my life am I now? And pausing enough to be able to see it. So Seamus, please.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Mary Jane, and everyone for being here. Yeah, it's that balance between force and ease. Like, and I just loved the poem again. Like, it was some of the words like emergence, like which tie back to Otto Scharmer and some of his work in the Presencing Institute. It's around inviting to emerge what is waiting to emerge, and it's back to kind of the conditioned forcing, like in business, for example, or in life in general, maybe we force and we push and we accelerate and we fertilize and we want things done quicker than they should grow in nature, for example. So it's that whole idea of we get so used to forcing things, like, and it's that balance then to kind of deliberately feel like what it feels like to just be at ease and allow nature to emerge in its own good time as it was designed to do, and experience what it feels like um to intentionally force less, notice when you're forcing, and then deliberately just create space to step back and that sense of balance you talked about, Jan, like to experience what it feels like to just be still and notice that I'm forcing. And it kind of goes back to something we talked about last week, I think, about, effort and effortlessness. Sometimes you can even force yourself to be still. And I noticed I found myself doing that in the last couple of months and was very kind of focused, gently focused, let's say, without forcing myself to focus. Again, it's like that. It's like a practice of noticing when you're pushing and noticing when you're at ease and just allowing yourself to kind of notice the difference or experience the difference from your inside out. And I think that's what this time of year is about, and that's what balance is about. I think it's that sense of deliberately creating space to achieve like the best possible balance, moment to moment, like hour to hour, day to day, week to week. And like you said, like it's a continuing dynamic journey of adjusting, noticing, balancing, and just being so attuned that becomes kind of an automatic process that this is just the way you live, like from a way of continually forcing to, moving towards a way of automatically just being at ease, but still getting things done, like in a world that kind of honors forcing so much, I suppose, So yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Seamus. Yeah, the poem, um, some of the lines in the poem greatly resonated with me too. And it was this idea that nature doesn't rush itself. It kind of just unfolds as it's meant to unfold, and so those words, like not only emergence, but um, the beauty of nature insists on taking its time. Everything is prepared, but nothing is rushed. And I think that, I always think to myself that nature is truly, I mean, it's such wisdom because I think that that's, as human beings, patience is really hard, and I think in our society or in our culture, patience is even harder. We're so used to getting things immediately, having things manifest in front of us, literally, whether that be a material thing or something else, immediately. And we're not, in general, people are not used to having to wait anymore. This whole idea of nurturing something. And maybe, years ago when a lot more people were things like farmers or worked the soil or spent time in nature, they had a much more easeful time about cultivating that idea of patience. Like they knew the seasons, they knew if they planted, it would take time to grow. And I think as we've become disconnected from being in the natural world, so to speak, that we've forgotten that. And we do all this preparation, we prepare whatever it is in our lives that we prepare for, that we work toward, and then we have to sit back and allow it. And that's can be really challenging to kind of sit back and say, okay, I've done my part. Now I have to wait for it to kind of come and manifest itself.
It's so true, isn't it? I was thinking of it when Seamus was talking about it's like sometimes we're looking for that space of grace and ease, and but it's interesting how sometimes we have to actually I don't like the, if I don't want to say force, but we almost have to force ourselves into that space because sometimes that's, well, often that's not our nature as human beings. Or as in that case, human doings, we are have a hard time being human beings sometimes. So it's just an interesting thing, but it's true. And I love also the concept of emergence because no matter whether it's the actual seasonal changes we're speaking to a little bit now, but or within our internal environment, it's we do go through periods of change and it also the dormancy, that's the nature of things. But it's true that we aren't always the most patient waiting for um, the things to take shape, to grow, to bear fruit. We we put it out there, we've planted the seed, and we forget that sometimes we need to nurture it a little while before it actually comes to being, right? So,
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Jane, because so true. I think we forget. And then also we have a one of Seamus's famous, sort of, what he kind of talks about a lot is this whole idea of pausing.
mhm.
And I think that, we don't sort of like pause enough and let it kind of grow beneath the surface.
Yes.
We don't, we plant it and then we don't, we rush to the next. And I think part of, one of the things I've been sort of working to practice is this whole idea of like, um, pausing when something is completed before beginning something else. And to me, that's the balance.
Yes.
For me, that's where the balance is. It's kind of like, okay, well, this is done, and I don't need to be in such a rush to automatically jump into the next thing right now.
Yeah,
And
well,
you might
that's true.
that might be a period of rest for me because usually, let's say you expend a lot of energy on something and you kind of like need to take a breath. Like that might be it, but it also for me is this idea of like, okay, let me kind of let what just happened kind of let me live in what just happened
Yes.
or I automatically jump into what's next. Like, let me see how that felt, like let me embody that experience before I automatically move into what I should do next or where I should be going.
I like what she was put in the chat. It's like it's also a time to celebrate too. That's very true. We often are in such a hurry.
I've
Um,
been where I've been, it's like, oh, okay. Well, okay, I'm going to celebrate this, kind of thing.
yeah, well, it's important to do that. I mean, it's interesting how, I know we've spoken to this point, multiple topics, but it's just like sometimes, um, we're readily will celebrate the wins or the beautiful things that are happening in somebody's else's life and our friends and our loved ones. We willingly do that, but it's a whole different scenario when it's turned back um, to us. We kind of forget that it's important for us to celebrate, um, even if it's just small wins. It's important for us to celebrate those as well, because they are the fertilizer, they are the fuel that um, feeds our next step and our next step. And so the celebration is just as important as the planning, the planting, the fertilizing, and the growth, right? It's like they're all important pieces to the process.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important for us to do that celebration,
Hmm.
um, for us to really acknowledge that. Um, we have to. I mean, I know that when Seamus and the whole group of us came out with the last book, I was really excited. I was like, oh, I want to celebrate this before we move. Like, I wasn't ready to move on to the next yet and to
Yeah.
think about what we were going to. I mean, part of me was like, the ideas were coming in, but I wasn't ready to actually start writing and getting into the like the details of that. I wanted to savor um, what the experience was and how it felt. Probably for one of I mean, for me, it was probably for one of the first times in my life that I actually didn't rush into what's next, which that tends to be my MO. That's like the way I operate. It's like, okay, what's next? I tend to move I move quickly. So I'm like, okay, that's done. What do we do next? You know,
I'm
but
laughing because like I really, Jan, thank you.
I know, you never would have known that about me, right, Mary
No.
Jane? I know, it's a surprise.
Yes. Surprise.
Everybody's really surprised. I know by
Yes.
that, but but takes sometimes it takes a little time for us to catch on our own, stuff. It's like, really? Because you never see yourself, right? And
No,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, but how interesting that and then there are people who tend to be able to savor a little bit more. Maybe they're a little bit more, I don't know, intentional or whatever. I'm not saying intentional. It kind of doesn't feel like the right word. Or maybe they just are like, okay, I'll take my time.
Well,
Um,
sometimes I think that's a little bit to do with their with whatever their nature is in general, but also I it's like anything else. I think it's a practice. It's it's a it's a learning being able to be in the here and now and letting them. But I mean, you're good at doing that too, but it's
oh yeah,
I couldn't
no, and
resist teasing.
yeah, no, good, please do. Um, but I think it is a learning, and I think it is, and there are times in your life where you're better able to do one or the other. I think that sometimes it's seasonal or just stages of life.
Yes. Yeah. I would say that's true. I mean, as we were talking a little bit earlier, I was saying that, I just feel that the past couple of months have been just well, a constant rolling of circumstances and things occurring and things needing to be done. And so I kind of feel like I haven't had that opportunity to be at ease. But I'm looking forward to it upcoming in the coming month, in my birthday month, shall we say. So maybe I should just celebrate the whole month. What do you think, Jan?
I think it's a great idea. And I think it's a fabulous idea.
I don't know what that looks like yet, but we'll have to see, won't we?
Yes, yes, you'll have to keep us updated. We'll have a birthday week update every Friday.
There you go.
And we can have a month-long party.
Hey, it
Yeah.
sounds like fun to me.
And so, but yeah, but this whole idea of, I guess, so one of the articles we read, they were talking about that whole idea of balance and actually looking at the, like, whatever, however you divide your life, whether you want to think of it as quadrants or pieces or section,
Yes.
roles that you take, but actually looking at that and seeing where in your life, like, where do you feel like you're out of balance? Like, where are you spending more time and more energy, and what could you do and where do you need to spend more energy and
Mhm.
time?
Yeah, well, the one advantage in this season that's upcoming and the following ones too is that um, hopefully more time could be spent in nature, breathing in the fresh air, and experiencing the big wide world out there.
No, absolutely. And I think that that's what I've been, that's been, really calling to me. And like I said, the temperatures haven't really cooperated here because it's been like this morning, it was in the 20s
Mm.
Fahrenheit. So it's not like it was, okay, 40 or 50, and I'm going to go and spend a lot of time outside later on in the day, probably. Um, but there is this calling to spend time outside, after being cooped up inside for all these months.
Yes, I am definitely looking forward to that. I was just looking because you were saying about a thing. Yes, it's 2 degrees Celsius here, so it's not very warm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Well, I guess it's better than -2, but it's it's two.
exactly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's just it's such an interesting way of looking at it, balance. I mean, I think whether we realize it or not, I mean, I think that's what we're all seeking most of the time is to have some sort of balance, right? I mean, one of the big topics of conversation, even in the corporate world, is about work-life balance and finding what works. That it's not all just work, that we need time to play as well. And play and joy and celebration. are key for us, even if they're just, like I said, small wins to celebrate. It doesn't matter. All of them are important.
Hmm. No, it's because you were just you just said the words work-life balance, and that's what I was thinking. Because I think it is that's the always which, the big one of work-life balance. And then in either end, finding the pockets of joy and celebration.
Hmm.
So not thinking that, I get great joy in what I do, as far as, you know, my work. And so it could be, but it's finding joy and um celebration or fulfillment in both sections of, both halves.
Yes.
And however you find that, whether that be spending time, with someone very important to you is the life part, or maybe it's, working on a project, um, a passion project in the work part, and you can
Hmm.
find joy and celebration in both. Because I think that people kind of compartmentalize it
Yes.
and think of like, okay, well, I'm going to celebrate this, life celebrations. Like that's how we think about it in a lot of areas. We don't really think about work celebrations.
No, maybe we should. Maybe as entrepreneurs, we might think about that a little bit more.
Well, more, I mean, I agree, but I think in the more, if you're in the more corporate setting, I don't know how much you think about work celebrations, except for work anniversaries. How long you've been at, at a, well, how long you were at a place or whatever, depending on how long you worked for a particular company or, in a field or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
It was funny yesterday. So yesterday I met with a new woman who came to one of my classes earlier in the week, and we were talking. And so she was asking me about, how long I've been doing what I've been doing, and and everything, and what I did before. And I was asking her about what and everything. And she's like, oh, well, that's really interesting that you've done that in your retirement. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know that I don't know that I've ever really like I don't really know that I'm retired, like
I'm pretty sure you're not.
yeah, I know. And it was just kind of funny because I was like, oh, okay, so this is retirement, it's like
Well, it could be. I guess it's all in what you want to do. I've also had Jen. I'm not much younger, but I'm just a couple years younger, and I've had when I got restructured on my job, and it was funny how people perceived it that way. Like I probably
thank you, Al.
um um it that was one of the things that they people said to me, "Oh, what are you going to do now that you're retired?" And I'm thinking, um I'm not retired. Like there's no possible way at like 50 that I'm retired. Well, I could be maybe if I was independently wealthy, but since we know that's not the case.
But that's how, as she said it, I was like, oh, that's kind of, it just struck me because I've never thought of myself, and I never, I haven't retired, but it just wasn't how I
No,
categorized myself. And so
tired maybe, retired
tired,
no.
right, right, tired, yes, but not retired. Yeah, absolutely.
I,
Maybe. Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble with that balance
yeah, yeah, yeah.
between with
Like
the work,
overbooking.
like yeah, with the rest and restore. It was
Yes.
like, yeah, with the overbooking, Mary Jane and I were talking about that because I don't know what possessed me like a week ago. Like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I kept on looking at everybody and saying, okay, that week is fine, that week is fine. And all of a sudden I looked and I had 7 presentations in 6 days. And I was like,
Overachiever.
okay, overachiever. It's like, what possessed me to think that? Like I just kept on thinking to myself, well, that week seems pretty good.
Oh,
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I guess, and so that work-life balance, like, it was non-existent.
yeah.
So,
This is why laughter sustains Jan and I, because we have a good hearty laugh at ourselves sometimes.
oh, always as we sit there and as we realize that we're both lifing, and so I think, but we all do that, and I just, sometimes we don't realize, almost like we're not present. And it just seems like, oh, okay, that seems pretty good.
Hmm.
And then we overextend. It's all, sometimes we do it in a day and sometimes we do it in a period of our lives, like a week or 2 weeks or a month.
Yes,
And you
I can relate to
know,
that.
yeah, I mean, sometimes, it could be like you book too many appointments in a day or too many meetings,
Hmm.
and there's no space and no time in between, nothing. There's no like, okay, well, I'll give myself a little bit of cushion here or there. I'm much better at that than I used to be.
Yes.
Much more aware of that, of giving myself time between meetings and things like that, and not doing so many things back to back. I was a slow learner though, because every now and then all of a sudden one day I woke up and I said, "Oh my gosh, I make my own schedule." Like I don't have to do that.
Well, isn't that one of the biggest transitions I at least I found with becoming an entrepreneur is realizing, oh, I'm setting my own schedule because especially if you worked in science and I worked in corporate for a long period of time, and basically your time is not your own, and if you're still, it means you're doing nothing, right? So in corporate perspective, I'm not saying that that's accurate, but I'm just saying that's the perception. If you're still, that's what that's perceived. So, but isn't it lovely that we get to do that for ourselves?
Hmm. But
And
I
just in
love
the
that.
context,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, go
John,
ahead, finish
sorry,
it.
yeah, just in the context of that, like, I think it's really important, like, to honor where we are, like, and again, that's a great example, Mary Jane, of like in corporate, maybe you can take, you have the choice, back to choice. And again, maybe like at the moment, like I'm in a stage of my life where I have the privilege of being able to actually be still for longer periods than I would have 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And again, and I think that's a part of balance and that's a part of choice is actually, in corporate maybe where things are really busy around you and there's a lot of moving parts. I have the choice to not stay still for 20 minutes or half an hour, but, even a minute. I really value having a minute to just practice being still. And I think that's part of the practice of balance. Like it's kind of honoring where we are in the current environment, like from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, week to week, decade to decade, of deliberately experiencing the power of I have choice here. I don't need to jump onto the next call. And then I get to choose in, the corporate environment where like everything is so quick and busy, even a minute or 30 seconds, or even the time to choose to take a breath might be, almost a radical process kind of thing. And then later in your life, you will have the chance to kind of, really have the privilege, I suppose, of being able to sit still for 20 minutes and say, this just feels right. Like, and I think that's part of the process of balancing is honoring the situation, honoring the environment, and then, knowing that that just is right in this particular situation, in this part of the life in my life where I am now, or this part of the day where I am now. So I think that's a really essential part of, the celebration, the honoring, the space, and just being so attuned that we feel, a great sense of liberation, even I think, of realizing we have the power to choose no matter what's going on.
Absolutely. That's for sure. I mean, the balance, just having that time for pause, and it's just being able to create that, even if it's just a momentary space for ourselves, it just allows for new things to come in as well. When we're busy and busy and busy, and we don't often allow time for um, new things to come in. But as we know, as we've talked about here in the past weeks, is like taking that pause, taking that moment of ease, that breath, whatever that looks like for you, really just opens up so many wonderful beginnings and opportunities that we may not have seen if we didn't take that pause.
Absolutely. And so I think that I love that, because I think that that's why when I said I wasn't in a rush to like kind of jump to the next, was sometimes it's that expenditure of energy, like you've put so much into something and then you are kind of spent. Like part of you, like the energetically, you're, even if you're not physically tired, like you've just expended a lot of energy in what you were doing. And so you're like, oh, okay, I really need space to kind of replenish and restore. And also it's this idea of, that pause of taking in what you did and celebrating or looking at the of how you feel, that feeling, whatever, of accomplishment, satisfaction, um not like kind of, of like, oh my gosh, like I really did that kind of attitude. And then also, maybe it's whatever else comes up for you around that. And then but I think we need that space always. I, I don't and I don't know that that's necessarily um that's something you kind of you have to experience for yourself. I think we can talk about it a lot, but I think that you have to experience it. You have to recognize what it feels like to kind of pause for a moment, take a breath, and kind of see where you are and notice what comes up and notice what, manifests or what feelings emerge. Um, if you talk about emergence, because I think that sometimes that 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 emptiness afterwards or that feeling afterwards can feel empty. It can feel like you need to fill it up with something. We're not used to being that. I think we're not used to that, where we're overly stimulated. So not having stimulation or having something to do can be uncomfortable. And I think that it can happen after really great things and can happen after really, tragic things or just stuff where you expended um a lot of energy. Like I remember, you plan an event, a very, let's say you're planning an event and you plan that event and that event happens. And all of a sudden you get up the next day and you're like, okay, now what? Because you're so used to spending so much time thinking about it and doing and everything. And then all of a sudden you don't have that anymore. And you're like, okay, now what am I supposed to do? And sometimes that feeling of like that questioning or not sure what's quite next yet is like, okay, it's like I remember after I took my boards for medical school, my MCATs, I remember I'd spent so much time in the prep course for like months before. And I remember I like hours and hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day. And then I took them and then I woke up the next morning and I was like, okay, I have these 10 or 12 hours in my day that I don't really know what to do. Like I didn't like I wasn't working yet at that point. And I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do? That's a lot of time, like not to have something to do. But I was so used to being busy with it that that was very uncomfortable in the beginning and probably was, afterwards too. And other times in my life, I felt that too, where, I was expending a lot of energy doing something. And sometimes it's relief, or feelings of like, oh my gosh, that's been on my mind for so long. And I'm really so happy that it's that like I can put it down now.
Well, that too is balance, isn't it? By able to
Hmm.
putting something down in order to be able to take on something new, whenever that is. But it's having the patience. It's just funny when you were talking about it, is I had the thing is like, the foot tapping the desk going, okay, come on, come on. That's what Kate was like. As we're not necessarily the best, human beings are not necessarily the best at being patient, waiting for um, new experiences to come in and allowing that to the space to come in.
No, I mean, and like I think I'd mentioned earlier, it's that feeling of like, okay, like being very quick to try to fill it with something. It's like,
Absolutely.
oh, it's like, okay, what can I fill this with? And not having the patience to kind of actually sit back and let it be empty for a little while. Or maybe you do have something you want to put in right away, and that's okay. But maybe there isn't anything. And being
Yes.
patient enough or like to pause enough and say, okay, well, right now I don't have to fill it with anything. I can just leave it, I can just leave it be for a little while before I rush in, like to fill it with something.
Yes.
Al.
Yeah, as we are closing in, so I'd like to contribute my acronym for the week. Since it started with the seed showing that spring is just emerging, So the seed is SEED. So we spring emerges, encouraging development. So when we plant a seed, sometimes it's like just developing, whatever, like how Spirit Born imagines as came by, So everything just started off, with just planting the seed with the great minds of Jen and Mary Jane. Yeah, so both I just came up with this superb idea and started this seed. So in everyday life, whatever we are planting, we're just developing for the future, and the future us, upcoming, and this is what I'm gonna, and it's just empowering, every day, empowering our lives together and the people that we are surrounding us, and also the future. You never know how this YouTube can explode to becoming a bigger and bigger impact in the world. So that's my thought for this week. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for sharing that and for um, giving us a little shout out because sometimes and not in this space per se, but sometimes it's true. You're putting things out into the world and right now it might be like sound like a voice is shouting out into the the void. Um, but hopefully all of our voices together um raise, some beautiful community and support and just more compassion for the world at large. So thank you for sharing that and for bringing your beautiful energy, all of you, to this space each week. And yeah, it's lovely.
Yes, thank you so much, Al. And thank you, Mary Jane, because absolutely, because I think that sometimes, not, we've talked about this over the last like few months and in this space and in others, we can look at what's happening around us and feel, very helpless or, like we're not doing enough or we wish we could do more. And it's in these spaces with all of you and hopefully anybody who might listen afterwards, where you feel like, okay, maybe what we share has an impact that ripples out and influences someone or helps someone navigate something because, otherwise, it's the whole reason that, I mean, I feel like that's the whole reason we have these conversations is that not only
Mhm.
for ourselves, but so that there's some sort of ripple that happens beyond this, the people that are on this, in this group, at
Yeah.
this exact time. Um, like maybe the recordings help someone or
Yes.
something we share on, online through some of our posts inspires people to keep going during what can be challenging and I'm going to use the word disturbing times.
And the word disheartening came to mind.
Disheartening, I think it's a good word. Disheartening, disturbing.
Hmm.
I'm not even going to say interesting or curious because it goes beyond that.
Oh, it goes beyond. Yes, that
Well,
is
but
for sure.
well beyond.
Yes, exactly. And even more reason why we look forward to your meditation.
Oh my goodness, so much so. So should I move into the marriage meditation?
Yeah, I think that seems to be a good opportunity to do that.
Okay. So take a moment and begin by allowing yourself to just arrive after the conversation, letting the words go away for a moment. Or maybe there's one word which kind of, emergence or balance or harmony that kind of stay there, but just letting everything else, the exact words kind of go. If you want to close your eyes or soften your gaze, feel free. And shift your awareness to your breath. No need to change it, simply noticing the natural rhythm of your inhale and your exhale. Let your body begin to settle, the shoulders to soften, the jaw to unclench, the space between the eyebrows to ease. And now gently bring your awareness to the center of your chest, to your heart. Rest your attention here, not forcing, just noticing. Breathing in and breathing out. And become aware of this moment in the natural world, the time of the equinox. A moment of balance, where day and night stand as equals, where light and dark meet, not in opposition, but in harmony. This is one of two moments in the year when the balance is so clearly present. Depending on where you are, the spring equinox or the autumn equinox. One opening us into growth and emergence, and the other guiding us inward toward release and reflection. And here you are in this moment of gentle turning. And just for a moment, notice that the balance exists within you as well. There are parts of you that feel open, energized, and ready. And there are parts that may feel quiet, inward, or uncertain. Both belong. Both are welcome. Both could not exist without the other. March is often called the muddy month, a time when the ground softens, when that what was frozen begins to thaw, when the landscape is neither winter nor fully spring. And perhaps there are places within you that feel this way too. Not quite what was, not yet what will be. In between, softening and shifting. Allow yourself to rest in that place without needing clarity, without needing resolution, just being with what is. Bring your awareness again to the center of your chest, and as you breathe silently or softly, repeat, I honor the balance within me. I allow all parts of myself to belong. I trust in the rhythm of my own unfolding. Just as Earth does not rush the season, I do not need to rush my growth. Beneath the surface in ways both seen and unseen, something is always unfolding. Seeds do not force themselves to open. They respond to warmth, time, and to the conditions around them. And in the same way, your growth is already in motion. Gently repeat, I trust what is growing within me. I do not need to force what is not yet ready. I welcome growth in its own time. Notice the balance of the season, the harmony of light and dark, and allow yourself to consider, where in my life am I being invited into greater balance, and what within me is quietly asking to grow. No need to answer, just notice what arises. And as we sit in this moment together, we honor the beauty of the full circle, the full cycle, the balance of summer, spring, autumn, winter, each season carrying its own wisdom, each one living within us. And when you'll feel ready, begin to deepen your breath. Gently bring your awareness back into the body, perhaps move fingers and toes. And slowly, in your own time, allow your eyes to float open or lift your gaze, carrying or noticing the sense of balance, the sense of trust, the gentle openness to the growth or to the season that lies ahead. We embrace it all. Thank you all for joining us today. Really so blessed to have you all here. Look out for some things that will be upcoming. Our next workshop together, Mary Jane and I, is May 2nd, Saturday. So that's exciting. We started planning our next 4-part series with Darlene, which is happening when was it? May 28th, Mary Jane?
Yeah, the first one will be May 28th. Yes, the
May
first series.
28th. So 4-part series for actually the summer solstice, because that will be there already. Not to rush out of spring, not to rush. Feel funny saying that, but yes. And feel free to share the YouTube video, the recording, with anyone who you think might enjoy it. We really appreciate when you do that. Take a moment to connect with us during the week. Trying to think of, no, we're not on holiday season yet. We have another week. So just have a great week.
Yes, holiday season's the following week.
The following week. Yeah, the following week. And so just many blessings to you all.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. Have a blessed weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Tomorrow is holiday. The Eid holidays.
Oh, that's
the
right.
Muslim.
That's right. It is Eid. Yeah, that's right. My friend
Oh,
was
that's,
mentioning that today.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just in the background.
Okay.
Yes.